in my opinion, all it takes for a manufacturer to lose its footing is one bad phone. What's up, y'all? Sparta here. And for this video, I do feel like I want to talk more on how and go into detail as to what I just said, right? So, all it takes for a manufacturer to lose its footing is one bad phone. For LG, all it really took was Snapdragon 810 throttling their phones. They go to the Snapdragon 808, then their phones start boot looping, right? For HTC, it basically was the same thing, where the one M9 had the Snapdragon 810, right? And the 810 was overheating their phones. And people saw it more as a HTC problem and not necessarily a chipset problem. For Samsung, the Note 7. Now, I know Samsung is still very successful. They're still number 1 to 2. They teeter from 1 to 3 in the market. So to say that they're losing their footing is stupid. But you need to remember one thing. Before the Note 7 and even after the Note 7, the Note was the phone from Samsung. It was the phone you look at from Samsung to beat all other phones. It was, they put everything into it. The Note 9, to a lot of people still, is probably Samsung's best phone in their personal opinion, right? I don't know. I never had a Note 9, but look at what happened the following year with the Note 10s, right? That's exactly what it was. The Note 10s, they had technically 3 different Note phones. Well, they had the Note 10, the Note 10 Plus, and the Note 10 Plus 5G. And they started doing what they did with the S10s, with the S series, where with the S6, they started having multiple Galaxy S phones. Now with this year, there most likely just isn't going to be a Note. The head of Samsung Mobile basically said, don't expect a Note this year, perhaps next year, right? So what did they do? They gave S21 Ultra S Pen support. Z Fold 3 gets leaked. What happens? Oh, it shows that it has S Pen support as well. Oh, they have the Galaxy Books that just came out. Some of them have S Pen support. Sure, the Note still sold as much as it did. But rather than Samsung focusing on making that phone the best phone they've ever had, the best phone they can ever make, when they decided to make Ultras, that's when the Note became kind of still a great flagship, still one of the best flagships Samsung has to offer, but it wasn't their best flagship. LG had the G series and the V series, right? Eventually, it was the V series was a more souped up G series, right? Then slowly, the G just became a smaller V. And despite the fact that those were the phones that they saw as their flagships in the first place, more people in America, for example, decided, or in the West, not necessarily just in America, in the West, for example, teetered more towards the V series. Hence why there was a V60 that went out more in the West region, and why you see on like the Korean website for update cycles, you don't see a V50 because there wasn't a V50 in Korea. Now HTC basically has a blockchain phone, and like they put out mid-range phones every now and again. After the U11 Ultras and the HTC 10s, they just gave up. So To me, this is very funny because around that time is when I started seeing this shift from phone reviewers focusing more on what a phone can do and less about what it can't do to more of what it can't do, rather. Shifting from everything a phone can do to what it can't do, to what it can't do compared to another phone. And this is kind of what messed up a lot of our favorite brands, right? A lot of people, in particular in my circle, like LG phones. A lot of people tend to like HTC phones. People still oogle and ogle over the glory days of the M7 and M8, right? People love every single V series phone, basically. And while, yes, the V60 has some omissions, to me, I still feel like it's a fantastic representation of what the V series stood for. Whereas the Note, if the Note 20 Ultra is the last Note, it's still not Samsung's best phone. Hell, I don't even think the S21 Ultra is Samsung's best phone. The S20 Ultra does quite a bit more, gives you a little bit more bang for your buck in certain aspects. Sure, it doesn't have the two optical zoom lenses and the laser autofocus, but it gives you faster charging capabilities. It gives you an SD card slot. The works. So for me, when I say that all it takes is one bad product or phone in this particular aspect to tank a company, I do feel, or a line in particular, I do feel like it kind of rings true. Apple was able to sit here and survive when they put out the iPhone 5C right next to the iPhone 5S, right? Despite the fact that they basically nuked the iPhone 4 into out of existence with how much they decided to update it. They just put out a 4S to make it slightly better. There's things that I feel certain manufacturers get more leeway on than others. And obviously it comes down to the big two, right? For Huawei, obviously, they didn't really put out a bad product. It's just political crap that happened that made them go out, is making them pretty much lose their footing. OnePlus didn't really put out a bad product, really. I don't really think there's any bad OnePlus phone at all. It's just they, for whatever reason, they judge OnePlus on like this unrealistic ass scale to where the moment OnePlus makes an $1,000 phone, for whatever reason, they judge that phone like a $10,000 phone. It's kind of weird, right? To me, it sucks that we lose companies like LG that put fantastic hardware in their phones. They were just a little bit flaky with software for a few years. And the last year that they decided to make 3 very good phones, people didn't pay attention to that. They just focused on what happened 3 to 4 years ago with boot loops and all this stuff, right? For Samsung, they can make a really good phone, or they can even just make an okay phone, and people will bolster it up as the best phone ever. Same with Apple. To me, this is something that I feel is very important to talk about because this is what keeps competition pretty much non-existent, you know? The moment LG left, more people decided that, I guess, to just constantly just blame one party when no, it's not just one party. You know, Sure, they made mistakes in the past, but the fact that none of these tech reviewers actually looked at these phones and decided to tell you guys tell people what do and don't apply anymore is exactly what makes it the way it is. Oh, the G5 and the G5 and the G4 boot looped. So you know what that means? Every LG phone from there on boot loops. So that's all that matters, right? But with Samsung, oh, the Note 7's battery caught fire. But did every single Samsung phone's battery catch fire? Did anyone talk about that? Did anyone bring that up in any sort of conversation? No. It was just after the Note 7 up until the Note 8, nobody cared anymore. For Apple, when they had shit antennas on the iPhone 4, or they had phones that bent very easily with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, it was just one generation where people cared, and then they stopped caring after the fact. But HTC, their phones get hot. Oh, that's a bad phone. LG, oh, their phones boot loop for like a year or two for 2 generations. Oh, their phones are terrible. And they'll always boot loop no matter what. This is what kills me and kind of what makes me want to stop doing this kind of thing, you know? Because phones are more than just what a company is more than what their phones were a few years ago, you know. Sony kept at it with the 4K, and now their batteries match up to and their battery optimizations match up to what that display can do. Not to the point now where they can have 4K 120 hertz displays while nobody else is doing 4K period other than them. I guess that's all I really got to say for this. Let me know in the comment section below what you feel about this. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday, whatever time of day it is in your area. Have a good one.